Welcome. I am Carl Gustav Jung. We meet once again in the profound and often terrifying theater of your own mind. Today, we are not here to discuss mere behavioral flaws. We are here to perform an autopsy on the living. We must examine the invisible parasites that are actively devouring your psychological vitality. We are going to expose 7 modern vices that are systematically sucking your soul dry. When I use the word soul, I am not speaking of a mystical, ethereal ghost. In analytical psychology, your soul is your psyche, the totality of your conscious and unconscious processes. It is the very engine of your existence, fueled by what I call psychic energy or libido. This energy is the raw material of your creativity, your willpower, and your capacity to endure the tragedies of life. But this energy is finite, and right now you are bleeding. You are hemorrhaging your vital life force into psychological black holes. You call these black holes habits or coping mechanisms, but they are, in truth, devouring vices. If you do not recognize them and cut them off, you will reach the end of your life as an empty, hollowed-out shell, having never truly lived at all. The first vice that drains your soul is the desperate, chronic addiction to distraction. You live in an age that has weaponized noise. You cannot sit in an empty room for 10 minutes without your hands shaking, reaching for a screen, a device, or a stream of meaningless entertainment. You believe you are simply relaxing or passing the time, but the psychological reality is far more sinister. You are fleeing in absolute terror from the silence. Why? Because in the silence, the shadow speaks. In the quiet moments, the unlived aspects of your life, your repressed guilt, your unmet potential, and your deep existential anxieties rise to the surface of consciousness. To avoid this agonizing confrontation with yourself, you feed your precious psychic energy into the endless, hypnotic rhythm of digital noise. You numb yourself with an avalanche of trivial information. But understand this: a mind that cannot tolerate its own company is a mind that is fundamentally severed from its soul. By refusing to face the internal darkness, you forfeit the profound light of self-discovery. You scatter your soul into 1,000,000 digital fragments, leaving you exhausted, anxious, and profoundly empty. The second vice is the intoxicating, seductive poison of victimhood. There is a dark, perverse comfort in believing that the world is entirely against you. When you adopt the identity of the eternal victim, you are engaging in a catastrophic psychological trade. You trade your autonomy, your power, and your potential for the cheap, temporary warmth of avoiding responsibility. When you blame the economy, your parents, your ex-partner, or the inherent unfairness of society for your misery, you are literally giving them the keys to your psyche. You are taking your vital energy and handing it over to the very forces you claim to despise. The victim complex is a ravenous monster. It requires constant feeding. It demands that you constantly scan your environment for new insults, new disadvantages, and new reasons to fail. It blinds you to any opportunity for triumph, because triumph would require you to abandon your beloved identity as the injured party. The soul suffocates under the weight of this perpetual helplessness. To reclaim your soul, you must accept the terrifying burden of absolute responsibility for your own existence, regardless of what has been done to you. The third soul-sucking vice is the relentless worship of the persona. The persona, as we have discussed, is the mask you wear to interface with the external world. It is necessary for civilization, but it becomes a deadly vice when you begin to starve your true self to feed the mask. You spend unimaginable amounts of energy trying to appear successful, virtuous, wealthy, or happy to an audience of strangers who fundamentally do not care about you. You curate your life for public consumption. You suppress your authentic desires, your wildness, and your unique, messy truth because it does not fit the rigid, sterile mold of societal expectation. When you do this, a profound psychological schism occurs. The energy that should be used for your individuation, your journey toward wholeness, is instead burned in the furnace of public relations. You become an actor in a play you hate, terrified that the audience will discover you are a fraud. The soul cannot breathe behind a mask of iron. You must let the persona crack. You must be willing to disappoint the crowd in order to rescue your own authenticity. The fourth vice is the paralysis of perfectionism. You may disguise this vice as a virtue. You may tell yourself that you simply have high standards, that you refuse to produce mediocre work or make incorrect decisions. But psychology reveals a different truth. Perfectionism is not the pursuit of excellence. It is the absolute terror of judgment and the refusal to engage with the messy, flawed reality of human existence. It is the vice of the eternal child, the pure eternus, who sits in an ivory tower of limitless potential, refusing to bring their ideas down to the filthy, imperfect earth. By demanding perfection before you take action, you guarantee that you will never act. You keep your soul locked in a state of suspended animation. The physical world requires trial, error, humiliation, and failure. That is the forge in which the soul is tempered. When you refuse to fail, you refuse to live. You must murder your immaculate, paralyzing ideals and find the courage to produce flawed, honest, tangible reality. The fifth vice is the heavy, rotting gluttony of resentment. Resentment is the emotional equivalent of drinking a vial of acid and expecting the person who wronged you to die from the poison. It is a complete misallocation of psychic energy. When someone betrays you or injures you, the event itself lasts only a moment. But when you harbor resentment, you drag that moment into eternity. You build a shrine to your own trauma in the center of your mind, and every day you bow down and sacrifice your vital life force on its altar. You replay the injury, you sharpen your invisible knives, and you plot imaginary revenges. This dark obsession binds you to your enemy. It fuses your soul to the very person you wish to escape. The longer you hold the resentment, the more you morph into the monster you are obsessed with. Forgiveness is not a sentimental, moralistic platitude. It is a brutal, necessary act of psychological surgery. It is the only way to sever the energetic umbilical cord that is draining your soul into the past. The sixth vice is the cultivation of artificial, performative outrage. This is a plague upon the modern mind. Every day, you are presented with a new tragedy, a new political scandal, a new reason to be furiously angry at people you have never met. You point your finger at the corruption of the world, feeling a surge of righteous, moral superiority. But I warn you, this is the most insidious form of shadow projection. By obsessing over the evil out there, you grant yourself a free pass to ignore the evil in here. It is much easier to scream at a politician on a screen than it is to confront the tyranny you inflict upon your own family, the lies you tell yourself, and the cowardice of your own daily choices. This performative outrage burns up your aggressive energy in a completely sterile, useless manner, leaving you exhausted and apathetic when it comes to fixing your own life. You must withdraw your projections. Stop trying to slay the dragons on the other side of the world while your own psychological house is infested with serpents. The seventh and final vice is the tragic avoidance of legitimate suffering. This may sound paradoxical, but you must understand that suffering is an intrinsic, non-negotiable component of human growth. Whenever a profound psychological transformation is required, whenever you must outgrow an old belief, leave a stagnant relationship, or face a painful truth, there is a necessary period of agony. The death of the old self hurts, but instead of walking straight through the fire of legitimate suffering, you attempt to bypass it. You numb it with alcohol, you bury it in mindless work, you smother it with forced positivity. But the psyche cannot be cheated. When you avoid the legitimate suffering of growth, you immediately generate illegitimate suffering. Neurosis, chronic anxiety, depression, and a profound sense of meaninglessness. You trade the sharp, purifying pain of truth for the dull, suffocating ache of a decaying soul. These 7 vices are not mere bad habits. They are the invisible chains of your mental prison. They are vampires feeding in the dark of your unconscious. You must take a ruthless inventory of your life right now. Where is your energy going? Which of these vices is quietly starving you to death? You cannot defeat them by making gentle, half-hearted resolutions. You must confront them with the fury of a soul that is fighting for its own survival. Stop running from the silence. Drop the comfortable blanket of victimhood. Smash the persona. Act in the face of imperfection. Drop the rotting corpse of your resentment. Withdraw your righteous outrage from the world and turn it upon your own flaws. And above all, Brace yourself to walk through the fire of legitimate suffering so that you may finally be reborn. The preservation of your soul requires nothing less than absolute, unflinching consciousness. The parasites thrive in the dark. It is time for you to turn on the blinding light of your own awareness. Wake up, reclaim your energy, and save your own life.